January 20th is the start of the brand new 2024 LCS season. Now, with all the drama and changes surrounding the league, I thought it would be at least somewhat refreshing to actually talk about the contents of the league. Today, I'm going to give you a brief summary of what I think you can expect from each roster heading into 2024 spring. Let's take a look. NRG, defending champs of LCS and, well, technically speaking, the best Western team in the world, considering their world's performance last year. They took down G2 convincingly, and they were the only Western team to make it to quarters last year. So with all that said, this team has some pretty high expectations entering this split. They kept the same roster except support, which I will say is nice to see in a world where everyone usually just chases the money. Anyways, most people have this team finishing top 2 in the LCS. I, however, do not. I think NRG had a good split last summer and got hot at the right time in a meta that suited their playstyle. But I think they'll crash back down to earth this split. Not saying they'll be terrible, I think they'll still make playoffs considering there are only 8 teams in the league now, but they will not be a legit championship contender and will be a very inconsistent team. Sure, they'll probably upset a couple of the top teams here and there, but largely, I think this NRG squad is coming in very overrated, with very high expectations, and I think they'll finish middle of the pack somewhere. Shopify Rebellion, the newest addition to the LCS and the replacement for the legendary organization that was TSM. This really might be the biggest joke of a roster I've ever seen in the LCS. With the exception of Insanity, these players really aren't good compared to the competition. Fake God lives up to his name very well, Boogie is well there, Insanity is good and proved it last year, Wild Turtle has been washed for a while now, and Zeyzal has a beard. I'm not expecting anything from this Shopify roster. They would make TSM proud. Cloud9. This is the team everyone has at the top, and rightly so. There's never been a team with 3 former MVPs on it. Simply put, they should win the league with relative ease. Maybe even with an undefeated regular season if they really wanted to try that hard. Compared to the rest of the league, this team just is on another level. Going position by position, they just have better players than everyone else, and I think their playstyles mesh pretty well together. Sure, there's always a chance the super team becomes the blooper team, but I don't really see that happening here. Perhaps after a slow start, they'll hit a groove and probably win the split. Top tier LCS team this spring in Cloud9. Immortals. If it weren't for this team randomly importing 2 Korean solo laners, I'd say this roster is more doomed than TSM. But they did in fact randomly import 2 Korean solo laners, so they may have a chance of finishing 7th. In all seriousness though, this roster has some potential. Most likely a middle of the pack finish, sneaking into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. Apparently, Mask is actually pretty insane, so it'll at least be fun to watch him play. Anyways, not expecting a whole lot from this roster, but don't be surprised if they win some games. Dignitas. The good news for this team is they got dubbed from the LCK, who's insane and can pair well with Rich. The bad news for this team is that everyone else is total butt. Not gonna lie, this bot lane is gonna get giga-gapped by every team, and XU in the jungle? I'd like to be excused before I throw up from watching this team play. They aren't going to perform well. Maybe double Korean solo lanes can carry them to a few wins, but don't expect anything from Dignitas to split. They'll be at the bottom with TSM. I mean Shopify. Team Liquid. This team actually looks decent, with the exception of the attack damage carry position. I think Yan is a fraud, and that's a talk for another time. Other than that, everyone looks solid. Impact is free from FlyQuest prison and is always good. APA performed much better than people give him credit for last year, and hopefully he's expanded his champ pool a bit. Core JJ is Core JJ, and I've heard good things about Umpty. The only low point here is Yan for me. Even still, this is a solid lineup. I'd expect at least a top 4 finish with a top 2 ceiling. FlyQuest. This is an interesting roster. It could either explode in success or implode in complete devastation. Looking at the individual players, they're all pretty solid, except Masu. I don't even know who that is, and apparently neither does lolesports.com. Anyways, I think this team has top 4 potential and bot 4 potential. Either way, I'm excited to see Bwipo play again. I respect that man in the top lane a lot, and Inspired is obviously still very good. This is a very interesting team to me, and we'll have to see if they're a Cinderella or a flop. Last but not least, 100 Thieves. I think if there were a team to challenge C9 at the top, it would probably be this roster. I played against General Sniper in the top lane on a couple occasions, and it did not go well. For who, I won't say. Anyways, even though I think Quid is complete butt of a player, as shown last year, hopefully he's improved enough to compete with some other top mids in the league. I also don't know Meech, but just by the top side of the map here, I think this team could have a great split, but maybe taper off toward the summer. Anyways, that is my rundown of what to expect from each LCS team this spring season. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.